is they provide 50-50. So really, even if we were to go to a constitutional court for interpretation, and if you have a constitutional court that is faithful to the spirit and the letter of the Constitution, then it will declare that Clause 6 that we passed in the matrimonial property and constitution.
All right.
Yeah. I think I want to go to court.
Yeah, I would encourage them to go to court because that clause goes against Article 2.6 of the Constitution and Article 45. But much more for me, Article 2.6, even that, because 45, somebody might argue, might be open to interpretation, but it talks about equal rights before, during, and after. But I know within the light of the joint, somebody might argue joint gives you equal rights because it appears to give, actually when you use the word joint, it appears to give 50-50, except in application, it doesn't give 50-50. Yeah,
there's a question here, Willie from Eldoret says, Millie, if you quantify pregnancy and childbearing, you may also need to quantify man's biological contribution.
Well, yes, I agree that we can quantify a man's biological contribution. And while we are quantifying a man's biological contribution, the biological contribution, you will have to compare it between the biological contribution and the caring for 9 months, and the laboring for a few hours, and the nurturing and caring for the children after. Then you will find that, yes, the biological contribution is important, but the most important part of that biological contribution is about 5 seconds or 1 minute.
Now, okay. Can that now, if you go by that way of getting pregnant, caring for 9 months, nurturing and growing children, can it be done standard for every woman? That for every woman who has given birth to a child,
this is the standard
rate. Standard rate that woman will be getting. The contribution is 5 million, or is 20,000, or 100,000. Can that be done for every woman who has given birth?
That
because
is,
it's the same process.
Unless you consider it as a percentage, it would not be possible because you come from very different economic backgrounds.
Okay, then can it be done in a percentage that the contribution of that
for me, if you actually,
that contribution is 2% or 50%? Whatever.
If you want to put it that way,
can it be done that way?
Yes. For me, actually, if you want to do that, so long as we acknowledge that is part. It's not only the giving birth. The giving birth is one part. The nurturing and caring for the children is one part. The taking care of being the family manager is another. And somebody, I was on Facebook in the evening, and I saw one of my Facebook friends was stating that somebody said that if women are saying that managing the home is a contribution, then let's quantify managing the home at a lump sum of 10,000 and give them. I would want to give you an example. That if you employ a house help, for instance, and you want to quantify, even if you want to be, mean, it's still mean, but let's quantify it, If you want to hire a house help, talk about any average rate, maybe 5,000, maybe 6,000, but I think the minimum by government now is it 10 or 12? So let's say we talk about the government 14,000. So if you are talking about the government minimum of 14,000, so let's say I'm your house help. If that's what you have reduced your wife to, then it's 14,000 minimum times 12 months, for instance, for the number of years that you've been married, for instance. But she's not just the housewife; she's the house manager because she's doing more than housewife. So go to a hotel. Get the rate of a person who does equal work and then quantify it and add it. So quantify that and put it aside. Quantify the one about giving birth and nurturing and caring and put it aside. Quantify the work of a farm manager and put it aside. Quantify the work of a chauffeur. If you're a person who drives and takes the children to school, and put it aside. So count all that and give it to. And quantify the cost of a coach, because now we have life coaches. A lot of women are life coaches to their husbands. Quantify the cost of being a life coach and put it aside. the men will be running in deficit.
So,
Well, the other way around also.
Yeah, the other way, if you are a lazy woman, you will also be running in deficit. But in terms of percentage, the men are likely to run in deficit.
perhaps as we finalize, Martin Makundi from Mwala is not very happy. He says it's disappointing that Millie has not said a single word encouraging Kenyans to work at maintaining marriages.
Well, I will encourage Kenyans when we are dealing with married women, with the marriage bill.
Okay.
The marriage bill is coming up very soon. I'm hoping it will come before we go on recess. I think there's been a confusion. There's the marriage bill, and then there's the matrimonial property bill. The matrimonial property bill is only talking about property. When we come to marriage, I will encourage Kenyans to honor their marriages, to respect their marriages, but the reality is, however much you encourage Kenyans, I speak from a Christian perspective, they are not listening to Jesus. Will they listen to me? If Jesus told them, I hate divorce, and they still don't listen, the people still divorce. So you must make law within our realities. If it was up to me, everybody would honor their marriages, respect their marriages, stay in their marriages, but unfortunately, people are not doing that. So you must legislate for laws, and I've given you an example here that if we don't do that, the alternative is people will be murdering each other. So let's not murder each other. Let us put laws, and I'm sure most of you have seen when divorces come, and we have seen even in courts people who have been arraigned. The other day there was a woman who was arraigned who tried to kill her husband. Why? Because of property. If you are not clear about how it's gonna be divided, you'd rather kill him beforehand. And the same with husbands. They might kill their wives beforehand if it's not clear. So we don't want people killing each other. We want a sane way in which if this noble institution of marriage doesn't work, then we divide property in a sane manner.
Today's press, the headlines, saying members of parliament are asking for
more money for houses and cars.
Something billion for cars, mortgages. And people try to imagine that this is the greed of the members of parliament. Is that the case?
No, absolutely not. I was also surprised to see it in the headlines. But having read, because I looked at it and I said, well, who is this who wants to give us money, since I wasn't aware? But when I read it, I understood that, already a decision had been made to avail money for vehicles for members of parliament, and to avail money for mortgage, which is a loan that you pay for members of parliament. Like in the last parliament, I took a mortgage, and I paid all of it with interest, of course, because it doesn't come free. It's just a loan. But the government did not give enough money. So there are members who have been able to access cars, and there are members who have been able to access mortgages, but there's no more money for those who want to take those loans. Essentially, that's what it is. So what they're asking is where there was not enough money, add so that we can take loan. Like I haven't taken a mortgage, so if I wanted to take now, there's no money to take. The parliament doesn't have.
All right.
So why, with the county assembly, they're having problems because they can't get whatever. The salaries and the remuneration commission cannot give them money, county assembly representative. And you members of parliament want more money for your mortgages. Is it more reasonable to give the doctors, the county assembly than MPs?
Well, I would tell you that if you go on record in the last parliament, when we were debating about the increase of members of parliament salaries, I was the only person in that day in the House who was on record opposing any salary increment. And I would want to tell you that for me, if the government of Kenya was able right now to come with a social security bill that takes care of the needs that we meet on a daily basis, like every weekend, I probably spend about 300,000 on issues of funerals for my constituents, on the issues of people who are sick, and there are genuine cases. Because I hear sometimes people say, why do you... we come from very poor constituencies, so I must take care of my constituents. I spend about 300,000, which is let me just finish, 1.2, about 1.2 or so million in a month. My salary, contrary to what the media says, is about 500,000. After deduction is about 300,000. 300,000. So where do I get this balance? If the government of Kenya was able to meet those needs, which I use about 1 point something million on every month, I would be very happy earning 100,000 shillings only as a member of parliament, which is a cut from whatever I earned, which was almost 500,000 before I went to parliament. I'd be very happy to take that cut if the government is able to meet the needs.
So when you get the balance to do that now, because you say your salary is less than what you contribute?
I have to work hard to get that balance. I have to make money outside to get that balance. That's the reality. Unfortunately, Parliament, for those of us who came in, is not as glamorous as it's made out to. It is actually public service. So most of the people who've come in here now, they're telling us we are shocked. The same way I was shocked in the last Parliament. I said, you mean this is the reality? The reality is in Parliament, I had more money, I earned more money, I was richer before I came to Parliament.
So and they always run that contest?
Really, I would want to tell anybody who wants to contest that if you are coming into Parliament because you think you are going to be rich, it is the wrong place for you. Parliament is actually public service. It is public service, it is sacrificial work, it is nothing like now I'm talking to you.
That's not
by tomorrow I will be in Mbita. It is a wrong perception. It is wrong. And I would want to encourage you, for instance, trailers. Take 1 weekend with me in Mbita, for instance, and you see what I'm talking about. I will not spend less. I'm on the ground. You never spend less than 300,000 any weekend you're on the ground. But even when you don't go, you will send no less than 200 and something thousand. So that's the reality of parliamentary life.
All right, we've come to the end of the interview. Many thanks indeed for your comments, questions. We totally appreciate talking to Honourable Millie Odhiambo, Member of Parliament. Thank you so much indeed. We'll be right back. Don't go away.